Hey, this is Eric, and thanks so much for joining me for this session. Today's special classroom guest, Mr. AI Chatterbot. Excited to be learning with you here today. Before we get going, just a little bit of housekeeping. You should see a link at the top of the screen there, bit.ly/Kurtz-AI guest. That link is going to get you to a resource document that has everything we're going to be exploring in the session. So I would encourage you to take a moment, go ahead and type that in and open up that resource document. That way, while I'm going through this session, you can try out everything that I'm doing. You can test these things out yourself and participate step by step as we go through these different activities. So to begin with, I guess my question for you is, have you ever wanted to use AI with your students? Now, there's a lot of positive ways to use AI, and you've probably used AI for yourself. Like maybe you've used AI to help you, generate a lesson plan or a rubric or create questions or things like that. And that's fantastic. Please do that. That's great. But what about using AI with students? Maybe that's something that we haven't been able to do as much because for a couple of reasons. Some AI tools, you have to be a certain age, usually 13 and above. Some are 18 and above. So yeah, for some of our students, they're just too young to use the AI tools. In other cases, it could be a situation where maybe they're the appropriate age, but it might be something that your school hasn't approved that tool yet for the students, so it's just being limited by school policy. Well, here's the thing. Even if that's the case, thankfully, there are still ways that you as a teacher can use AI with your students. The way we're going to do that is with some activities where you, the teacher, are managing the AI, but the students are still involved in the learning activity. All right, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that through something I'm calling custom chatbots. What I mean by that is simply this. We're going to use tools like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, things like that, but we're going to customize them. We're going to give them some directions, some guidance, some guardrails so that we're not just using them the way they normally would be. What that means is we're going to be asking the AI chatbots to behave in a particular way or come from a certain perspective or have certain goals or instructions they're going to be following, have a predetermined personality. This is great because what that means is it's going to help keep the students on track. It's going to help keep the AI on track. And it should be more engaging. It's fun to engage with an AI that's taking on a certain personality, and that may make it more fun for our students. So basically, we're going to do this by telling our students, hey, we have a special guest who's joining us in class today, and it's an AI chatbot. It's going to be our special classroom guest. And then we're going to have the students interacting with the AI as if it was a guest who has come to class. And we could do a lot of things with this. We could have them interview the AI. We could have them debate the AI. We could have them play educational games with the AI, co-write with the AI, and so forth. We're going to look at several of those examples. So what tools are we going to use for this? Well, for today, I'm going to be sticking to just a couple of these, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Claude from Anthropic. Those are the three I'll be using. Now, these three are not the only ones out there, but they're good examples of AI chatbots. Couple of key things about these. For each of these, you can use them for free. You do not have to pay for them. Yeah, they all do have a paid option, but nothing that we are doing in this session would require you to, pay for these tools. You can totally use the free versions of them. And it's also kind of nice to try more than just one of these because you might find that you like one better than another, or maybe one day one of them is just too busy and it's taking too long for it to respond. It's good to have multiple accounts on these different tools so you can say, well, hey, ChatGPT is not working today. We're going to jump over to Gemini to do our activity. All right. Well, with that said, let's go ahead and get on into this and try out our first activity. So our first one is going to be an AI interview. So the idea is we're going to tell the AI chatbot to pretend to be someone and then have the students come up with interview questions they would ask if this was a classroom guest. This can be a really neat way to get students asking questions they are interested in. So this is more of like a supplemental activity. We're not saying, don't read the chapter or the story. Of course, students are still going to read the content we provide for them, but this can go alongside of it to be another way to ask questions they're interested in and get additional learning from that activity. So what could the AI be? Well, really anything you want it to be. A common thing would be having the AI pretend to be a historical figure. So maybe you're learning about Abraham Lincoln, so have the AI pretend to be Abraham Lincoln, and the students could, ask interview questions that they are interested in. You get the idea. Or maybe you're reading a book and you want the AI to pretend to be a character from the book. You're reading Charlotte's Web, so hey, have the AI pretend to be Wilbur, and the students can interview Wilbur and ask questions they are interested in. Doesn't have to be a specific person. It could just be somebody in general, somebody with a certain job or living in a different place or living in a different time. Doesn't have to be a specifically named person. Doesn't even have to be a person. The AI could pretend to be an animal. Maybe, you're studying about dinosaurs, have the AI be a T-Rex, and your students could interview the T-Rex. Or maybe it's an object. Maybe you're studying about weather. Have the AI pretend to be a tornado, and the students can interview a tornado and find out what life is like. The point is, the AI can be anything we want it to be, and the students can ask questions that we then pass along to the AI. So, to do this, what do we need? Well, we need a prompt. So I do have a prompt that I use for this, and it is right there in the agenda document. You don't need to worry about trying to copy this down or anything. If you go to that resource document that I shared out at the beginning there, the AI interview section starts on page 4. Got a few introductory things there, but when you get down to page 5 and 6, that's where we're going to see the prompt template, and there it is. That's it. You can go in and copy that, and then you can fill in your own information in these placeholder spots here. So basically what the prompt says is, for this activity, you're going to be interviewed by the students in my class. And we tell them the age range of the students. That way it knows, is the AI talking to kindergartners or high schoolers? So it's going to be appropriate. And then I do tell it that when you respond, do respond appropriately for that age group. You will be playing the role of, and we tell it what it's going to be. We say, okay, you're going to be, again, somebody from history, somebody from a book, whatever. We tell them what the role is going to be. I then encourage it to, of course, embody that personality, so it, talks and sounds like that. And then I do throw in a couple other little things here. For example, I tell it to strive for accuracy, to avoid stereotypes and biases, that if it is a complex topic, to encourage critical thinking, to encourage discussion, and then if the AI doesn't know the answer to something, to let us know that and encourage the students to do further research. All of that together tends to be a pretty solid prompt to make this activity work. All right, so I have gone ahead and filled in a couple of things. For our example, let's have it be that my students are in a science class, maybe 8 to 9 years old, so we're talking upper elementary, and maybe we've been studying about metamorphosis. So for my example prompt, I'm going to have the AI pretend to be a butterfly that has recently come out of its chrysalis. So basically, I just took this prompt and filled in my things. I would encourage you do the same. Come here, grab this prompt, copy it, and then put in your information. How old are your students? What would you like the AI to pretend to be? Try this out right alongside with me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy that prompt, and I'm going to head over to ChatGPT and I'm going to drop it in there. I'm going to go to Gemini and drop it in there, and I'll go to Claude and drop it in there. All right, and let's go ahead and submit that. So we'll submit it to ChatGPT, we will submit it to Gemini, and we will submit it to Claude. And again, I'm just doing that just so we can kind of see a little variety there, see how they all respond a little differently. So ChatGPT is saying, oh, hello there. I just stretched my wings and they're still a bit damp, but I'm ready to flutter into your questions. Ask away. I'm here to share the wonders of the world from a butterfly's perspective. Now, you can read this aloud to your students. That is perfectly fine. Having said that, some of these tools do have a read aloud option. So like ChatGPT does. If I come here and click on the read aloud button here, I should get this. Let's take a listen here real quick.
Oh, hello there. I just stretched my wings and they're still a little bit damp, but I'm ready to flutter into your questions.
And I'll just pause that there. And you can choose different voices. I can come up here and there's a settings section and there's a speech section and there's different voices we can pick from. So you could adjust that as need be. Gemini likewise has answered our questions, and Gemini does also have a text-to-speech option.
Ooh, my wings are still drying, but I'm ready to flap about and answer your questions. Ask away, little caterpillars.
Excellent. Now, Claude as well should be giving us a response here. Oh, looks like sorry about that. Looks like I did not submit that. I'll go ahead and drop it in there. Thought I had clicked on that, but there it is. No worries. Yes, I'm ready. Just emerged from my chrysalis. Now, Claude doesn't have a text-to-speech option, so either you could read it or use another text-to-speech tool. There's lots of Chrome extensions and tools and things like that that will read text aloud. All right, at this point, we need to give them some questions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop in, I've pre-typed these. I'm just going to copy and paste them in. So for ChatGPT, I'll say, did it hurt to change into a butterfly? For Gemini, I'll ask, what do you eat? And let's see, for Claude, let's ask it, do you remember being a caterpillar? And so the idea at this point is basically you're going to get questions from the students. Now, you could have done this ahead of time, maybe the day before, said, hey, we're going to have a special guest tomorrow. Here's who it's going to be. What should we ask? Or maybe you're just doing it live there in class. Whatever the case is, you're in control. You're the one choosing the questions from the students, so nothing inappropriate is getting asked. But the students are still being able to express their curiosity. And so in this case, maybe they wanted to know, did it hurt to turn into a butterfly? No, it didn't hurt. And it's explaining about metamorphosis and explaining how that works. Gemini, what do you eat? Nectar, awesome. Talking about the proboscis that, it uses for its long curly tongue. So we're learning a lot of neat things there. What do we ask here? Claude, we wanted to know, did it remember anything? Oh, yes, it does remember that. It's talking about how it can remember some of the munching on milkweed leaves. There we go. Talking about that. So it does turn out that actually butterflies can remember some things from when they were caterpillars, but you get the idea. So basically, that's the approach to this, is you're going to tell the AI to be something, a person, a character from a book, an animal, an object, whatever it is, and have students ask questions. This can be a really engaging way to help students learn more about the topic you're covering, but also to learn things they're interested in about it. Now, I will say real quick, just as a general warning or just a thing to keep in mind when you do these activities, I think it's important to make sure we're telling our students that this is AI. Certainly older students are going to know that, but younger students, if they're really young, might be something a little bit new to them. So explain to them, hey guys, this is AI. And with that comes a couple of things. The fact that, AI can make mistakes. It's not perfect, even though it seems really, really, really intelligent and it seems to do a really good job. AI is not perfect. AI can make mistakes just like a person can. And so because of that, I would say test the activity out ahead of time yourself. Don't just do this live the first time in front of your students. Think of questions you think they might ask, put it in yourself, test it ahead of time, see if you liked, ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude better based on the answers you were getting. And then, like I said, make it clear to the students that even with all of your testing, hey, it still could go wrong. It still could say something that's not accurate, so incorrect or biased or so forth. The thing is, what's important is to then encourage our students to keep an eye out for those things and be willing to ask questions and say, that doesn't sound right to me, and to push back on things. This is an important skill for our students to learn. Folks, they're going to be using AI the rest of their lives. They need to know how to think critically. They need to know how to evaluate what AI generates. And so if you're doing this activity and the AI does say something that's not accurate or, perhaps comes from a certain bias or whatever the case might be, don't look at that as a problem. Look at it as a teaching opportunity. Say, hey guys, let's pause for a moment. Why do you think the AI said that? And talk about how AIs can make mistakes or can come from a certain perspective and use that as a teaching opportunity. So again, I don't think that's a reason not to do these activities. Actually, it's the opposite. I think that's more of a reason than ever that we should be doing these kind of activities, because what better place to learn how to evaluate AI than in the environment of a classroom where we're able to help guide our students. All right, so that's one activity. Let's see if we can squeeze in a couple more. I know time's ticking by here, but let's look at just a few. I'll move a little quicker on these other ones. How about an AI debate? This is a great one. So for this one, same general idea. We're going to have the AI pretend to be something, in this case, a debater. But this time we're going to tell it, okay, here's the topic, here's your persona, and here's your position on this topic. And then we're going to have a class debate between the students and the AI. This is great for critical thinking. This is such a good way to push our students, to have to encourage them to be able to think deep about why they believe what they believe on a particular topic and come up with good arguments and counter arguments. AI is a very good arguer. So what is the prompt that I use for this one? Well, if you head on down to page 6 and 7, so here is the prompt that we'll be using for this one. Basically, as you can expect, we're going to say, hey, you're going to be debating my students. Here's the topic. Here's your position. Here's your persona. You don't have to give the AI persona, but sometimes it might make sense in that debate. If so, that's fine. Age range for the students. Respond appropriately. Only share one argument at a time. And then either let the AI go first or we can go first. You can decide either way. So here's the one I'm going to do. And again, please, please, please try this yourself. I'm going to copy and use this one, but you can fill in your own. For mine, I'm saying that you're going to be debating my students. The topic is, should the school day start earlier or later? Their position for the AI is that it should start earlier. And I'm telling the AI for this debate that the AI is going to pretend to be a high school principal. The age range of the students is 14 to 17, so high schoolers, and there we go. We're ready to go. So let's just pop over to ChatGPT. We'll do a debate with ChatGPT. We'll drop that in. We can pop over to Gemini and drop it in there as well. And we can jump over to Claude and drop it in there as well. And let's see what we get here. So ChatGPT is coming up with the first argument. I believe the school day should start earlier because it helps prepare students for the realities of adulthood. Many jobs and responsibilities require early starts, and blah, 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 blah. Gemini might have gone a similar way. Let's see. Saying it's beneficial for your academic performance. Studies have shown that teenagers' brains are more alert in the morning. And then, of course, Claude is giving an argument here as well, saying it allows students to participate in more meaningful after-school activities. Because you get done earlier. Now, the point of this is where now we look at the argument, and as a class, we go, okay, guys, let's brainstorm. How would we counter that? What is a possible, counter argument? Maybe you break the students up into smaller groups and they discuss and then they report back out and we come up with an overall argument that we're going to put back in. But this is something that is going to actually raise critical thinking as students are going to be, wrestling with these arguments and coming up with good counter arguments. All right. What's another thing we could do? Besides debate, we could do AI games. Now, There's a lot of possible games here. I just picked 2 examples here, but there's lots of possibilities of what you could do by playing a game with AI. One would be something like a choose your own adventure game. Think of those old, text adventure games type of things, or the choose your own adventure books. Well, that's the idea here. So for this, basically, we're going to be having the AI generate a choose your own adventure story that is an interactive game. We're going to give it a topic, a character that the student will be coming from, and some key objectives. And that's it. The AI is going to generate a story with choices, and this class has to then debate on those choices and decide which one to go with. If you scroll on down to AI games, there is the template for this one. Now, that's a pretty good size template. Basically, what I'm saying is, hey, you're going to play a choose your own adventure game. Here's the age range. I do say each round of the game, generate a new portion of the story along with 2 choices. Now, you can adjust this. If you want to make it 3 choices, that's fine, or whatever you want. I also said limit the new portion to 1 to 2 paragraphs, but again, you can modify that. After the students make their choice, you'll repeat the process by generating the next paragraph and so on, and it will continue on from there. I say the topic, what is the topic for the story? What character should the student be representing in the story? And again, telling it, avoid stereotypes and biases, encourage critical thinking, and then at the end, at some point during the course of the story, try to address the following objectives. So if there's key things you want the AI to make sure it weaves into the story, you can do that. So for my example, I chose that we would go with this. The topic is going to be traveling on the Oregon Trail in 1850. And the character is going to be a 13-year-old child who's traveling along with their father and mother. And some of the key things I would like the AI to weave into this would be how there were the hardships of daily life on the trail, the importance of supplies and decision making, the impact that the geography and the terrain had on the trip, and the importance of community and collaboration. So that is going to be my prompt. And again, pretty much it's just the regular prompt there. I just filled in a couple of key things. All right, well, let's pop on over to ChatGPT. Let's drop that prompt in and see what we get. So hopefully it will now start generating. There we go. The story begins. So we've got the wagon creaking as it rolls, pulled by a pair of oxen, kind of setting the stage there. Says it's been weeks since we left Missouri, and the journey's starting to take its toll. Talking about coming up with 2 options ahead of us, a path through some rocky hills to the north or a flat but winding trail to the south. And we have to make a choice. And so basically that's what we would do. We would read the story together as a class and say, well, what do you think? What choice makes sense here? And you can even vote. Maybe it's just a show of hands. Who votes for 1? Who votes for 2? And we could talk about why would you pick one versus, another. In this case, we'll say, you know what? Let's go with, 2 for this example. So we'll put in choice 2. And now that we've done that, here we go. The Southern Trail. And so now the story continues. And again, it should, like we said, hopefully hit some of these key objectives that I mentioned, saying here's some key things. Now, those objectives could even just be standards. You could, paste in the standards that you're trying to teach so that it weaves, that content in. And you get the idea. All right. Awesome stuff. So that's choose your own adventure games. Other type of game you could play with the students would be like a 20 questions game. If you were interested in that, I do have a prompt for that as well. Just go on down to 20 questions. It's, as you can imagine, you're playing 20 questions where the students are trying to guess an item from a category by asking yes/no questions. Great way to work on critical thinking and subject area knowledge. And then the last one I have in here, the final one I have, is AI co-writing. So this is a fun activity where basically the students write with the AI, kind of like round robin writing or chain writing. And so the prompt that I use for this one is right here. We basically say, hey, you're going to be co-writing a story with the students in my class. We're going to take turns writing a paragraph at a time. Don't write more than one. Here's my student's age range. This is the genre for the story, the topic for the story, and then either the AI can start or you can start. So for my example here, this is what I've got. Let's go ahead and put this one in. So what I'm saying for mine is that my age range of my students is 6 to 7 years old, so a little bit younger elementary students. And our genre is adventure, and our topic is a pet cat that can suddenly speak. And so here we go. The AI has written our first paragraph here. As a class, it would be our job now to read through that and say, so what do you think happens next? And we could all start brainstorming. This is a great way to talk about plot and what could happen in a story, what should occur next. And the idea is, well, that's what we would do. We would come up with our paragraph to add on to the story. Now, what I usually like to do is to copy what the AI has generated. So I'll come in and copy that, or I could just use the copy button down here, and I'll drop it into a Google document so that we've kind of got a nice, easy spot. And then in that document, that's where we'll brainstorm what the next paragraph is. I went ahead and just put something together real quick so we would have something there. So the students add, we decide what we're going to have the next paragraph be. And then when we go back to ChatGPT, instead of just pasting in the next paragraph, what I like to do is I like to use a follow-up prompt where I say the class has added the next paragraph, reread the current version, and then write the next paragraph, only write one paragraph, here's the current version. I like to do that because what I find is that way ChatGPT or whatever tool, they don't lose track of the story. Like if you go back and forth too many times, it might forget something earlier. So I'll put this in, and then if you press little tip for you, press Shift Enter to put in a blank line underneath there. Otherwise, if you just press Enter, it'll think you're submitting it. And then I'll just paste back in the current story where it's at. So I'm saying, hey, here's everything new now in addition to what you started with. So there's the beginning, and then I've added in the new paragraph. And at that point, ChatGPT is going to reread the whole story and not miss anything. And now, boom, it's going to add the next paragraph onto there, and back and forth we go. All right. Well, folks, I want to first of all just thank you so very much for taking the time to hang out with me here today. I hope this gave you some ideas about how no matter what age students are, you can still use AI with them in a way that is engaging, that encourages critical thinking and communication and creativity, and all that can be done with having AI be a special classroom guest. As a reminder, everything we looked at can be found at bit.ly/Kurtz-AI guest. And again, please stay in touch. I would love to hear how this goes for you, what you create with this, share your experiences. Thanks so much for learning with me here today. And if you made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing, accessing all of my resources at control-alt-achieve.com, and connecting with me at bit.ly/CAA-connect, where you'll find my email, social media links, newsletter, and more.